Have you ever felt like you're just constantly fighting to explain yourself? Well, today we're going to dive into a story that flips that idea on its head. It's about how true strength isn't about winning an argument, it's about knowing when to say nothing at all.
You know what I mean, right? You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and just replaying a conversation over and over again. You're thinking of all the brilliant comebacks you should have said. It's like this mental hamster wheel, and honestly, it gets you absolutely nowhere.
And that feeling, that constant need to prove your own worth, man, it is draining. If you've ever worried that being quiet makes you look weak, then this story is for you. It's about a guy who learned the hard way that silence isn't weakness. It's actually your best defense. All right, so let's meet John. John was a good guy, loyal, honest, worked hard at this huge factory. But he had this deep, gnawing fear of being misunderstood. He genuinely believed that if he wasn't constantly defending himself, everyone would just assume he was lazy or incompetent.
So one night, after a really, really tough shift, John makes a huge mistake. He's feeling beat down, he's vulnerable, and he decides to open up to a coworker named Mike. You know the type, always smiling. John thought he was finding a friend to share the load with. He couldn't have been more wrong.
John just lets it all out. He says, "Man, I am exhausted. My body aches. Maybe I need something a little less demanding for a while." All he was looking for was a little bit of understanding, some camaraderie. But what he was really doing was handing gossip fuel to the rumor mill. See, Mike didn't hear a tired coworker. He heard a juicy piece of news. And you know how these things go. By the next morning, John's simple admission of being tired had twisted into something completely different. The news story? John was unhappy and planning to quit. So how does John react? Exactly how you'd expect. He panics. He starts running around the factory, trying to put out the fire, arguing with anyone who will listen, desperately trying to correct the story. But here's the kicker. The more he protested, the more unstable he looked. To management, he just seemed negative. And this is where it all just completely falls apart. Because he couldn't get a handle on that frantic need to prove himself, he went from being a loyal worker to being seen as a disruptive threat. And just like that, his desperation to be understood got him fired. So, completely broken and just bone tired, John leaves the city. He hears about this wise old monk who lives by a waterfall, and he figures, what has he got to lose? This moment right here is his turning point. He finds the monk and just unloads everything. He's yelling in frustration. "I tried to be honest. I tried to show them I was a good person. So why did my own words end up destroying me?" Now the monk does something brilliant. He doesn't just lecture John. He takes a pot of water, boils it, and asks, "John, can you see a reflection in there?" And of course he can't. The water is churning. It's chaotic. The monk says, that is your mind when you react. Then he points to the calm water of the waterfall's pool. But in still water, he says, your reflection is perfectly clear. That is the mind that responds. And then the monk hits him with another piece of wisdom. He says, when someone throws dirt at you, a rumor, an insult, you have a choice. You can reach out your hands and catch it, which makes it your problem to hold, or you can just step aside and let it fall to the ground. In that moment, John realized he'd been choosing to catch the dirt every single time. Okay, so this isn't just about pretty metaphors. The monk gave John a real, practical framework for getting his power back. Let's break down exactly what that looks like. So this is the fundamental shift right here. The monk explained that a reaction is basically a panic button. It's that immediate emotional flash that just clouds your judgment. It makes you stupid. But a response? That comes from creating a little bit of space between what happens to you and what you do next. And that space, well, that's what makes you smart. So here it is, the 4-step guide. First, you practice responding, not reacting. You create that space. Second, you make a conscious choice to stop catching the dirt. Just let it fall. Third, you have to learn to trust your silence. It's not weakness, it's your shield. And finally, step 4, the only conversation that really matters is the quiet one you have with yourself. And these principles are the engine behind it all. Think about it. An insult is like a gift. If you refuse to take it, who's stuck holding it? The person who tried to give it to you. Remember that your character isn't built on what you say, it's built on what you do day after day. And most importantly, the only person you ever need to convince of your worth is you.
So John takes all this wisdom and heads back into the world, a totally changed man. When he gets a new job, he doesn't boast, he doesn't over-explain his past, he just puts his head down and lets his quiet, excellent work do all the talking for him. And when the whispers and rumors inevitably started, because let's be real, they always do, his entire approach was different. He didn't engage, he didn't fight back. He would just smile to himself and think, nope, I'm not catching that dirt today. He was learning to just step aside. And he discovered something incredible. The less he reacted, the less people had to react to. It's like a storm, you know? When it realizes you're not going to run from it in a panic, it kind of loses its power. It just stops chasing you.
So, my friend, what is the moral of this whole story? What's the big takeaway for us? It's really simple, but so powerful. The real answers aren't out there in all the noise and chaos. They're in the stillness we create for ourselves on the inside. And this right here is the absolute heart of it. You can't control what other people say. You can't control what they do. That's impossible. The only thing you can ever truly control is your own reaction. You master that, and you've mastered your own life. So please remember these keys. You do not owe an explanation to people who aren't on your journey. True strength is being the calm center when the world around you is a hurricane. And your peace, your real peace, begins the second you let go of that burning need to be understood by everyone. So that leaves us with one last question, a question for you. Think about your life right now. What piece of negativity, what rumor, what insult have you been clutching in your hand? What dirt are you going to finally decide to let go of, starting today?